All right, welcome in everyone. Get ready, because today we are diving deep into fire.
Oh, yeah.
I know what you're thinking, fire. We know fire, right? It's kind of everywhere.
Right. Seems pretty basic.
But trust me on this, we're going way deeper than just your average bonfire or birthday candle today.
Absolutely.
Our listeners, you guys have sent in some seriously thought-provoking stuff on this, the science, the history, the whole shebang.
It's fascinating stuff.
And I, for one, am so ready to get this deep dive burning. So let's talk about what actually makes fire, scientifically speaking.
You mean aside from awesome?
Aside from awesome, one of the sources used this analogy of fire needing specific ingredients, almost like it's eating fuel to survive.
Yeah. And it's a good analogy because it highlights the fact that fire isn't some magical thing.
Right.
It all comes down to a very specific recipe. We call it the fire triangle, right? Heat, fuel, and oxygen. Those three things have to be present.
Okay, right, the fire triangle. Classic.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, what's really going on in there? Like at the molecular level?
Oh, it's way cooler than most people realize.
Right.
Imagine a mosh pit, but microscopic, with these tiny particles bouncing around.
Okay.
These particles are colliding with oxygen molecules, breaking their bonds apart and forming new ones in the process.
So it's a chemical reaction.
Exactly. And all that rearranging releases bursts of energy. That's what we feel as heat and see as light.
Oh, whoa. Okay, that is way more dynamic than how I pictured it back in high school chemistry.
Yeah.
It's like this tiny, invisible dance party happening every time we light a match.
I like that, a dance party. And speaking of matches, you've probably noticed how different things burn differently.
Whoa, totally. Like a campfire has a completely different smell from, say, a gas stove.
And there's a reason for that. See, the chemical makeup of a fuel plays a huge role in how it burns.
Oh, interesting.
Wood, for example, with all its complex cellulose, that burns way differently than something simple like paper or the hydrocarbons in natural gas.
So it's not just about having fuel, it's about what that fuel is made of.
Exactly. Each fuel has its own, burning personality, you could say, which I think is pretty neat.
I'm with you there. That's fascinating. It's those little details that make these deep dives so fun. It's like we're peeling back the layers of something we thought we knew.
Exactly. And speaking of layers, here's another one for you. Did you know that you can tell the temperature of a flame just by looking at its color?
Oh, yeah, I remember reading something about that. Cooler flames are usually yellow or orange, like a candle, right?
Exactly. And as the temperature rises, the color shifts more toward the blue end of the spectrum.
Really? So is that why the flame on my gas stove has that blue part at the bottom?
You got it. That blue part is where the combustion is most complete and therefore the hottest.
Wow, so you're telling me that the roaring blue on my stovetop is way hotter than the flickering yellow tip of a candle. Never would guessed.
It's true. And you know what I think is so cool? We can explain all this scientifically, but there's something about fire that goes beyond that,
It's almost mystical.
It is. It has this hold on our imagination, this deeper meaning across cultures.
Totally. It's like we can break down the science all day long, but there's this whole other layer to unpack when it comes to the symbolism, the cultural significance.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's what makes fire so endlessly fascinating, at least to me.
Okay, I'm so ready to dig into that. So we've talked about the science behind fire, but what about, the stories? The cultural side of it. It's not just about chemical reactions.
Definitely not. I mean, fire has been a cornerstone of human culture for, ever. It pops up in mythology and religion and everyday life in ways that still resonate today.
For sure. And speaking of mythology, this one source mentioned the Hindu fire god, Agni. To be honest, I'm not super familiar with that.
Oh yeah, Agni, he's a pretty big deal in Hinduism.
Yeah.
See, fire is considered sacred, and Agni is the embodiment of that. He's like the god of fire, transformation, purification, all that good stuff.
So they see fire as more than just like a force of nature, it's a divine entity.
Exactly, and that adds this whole other layer of meaning, don't you think?
Totally. And it makes me think about that Greek myth Prometheus, right? Stealing fire from the gods and giving it to humanity.
Oh yeah, classic Prometheus.
It's like this metaphor for knowledge and enlightenment, how it can be both a gift and a burden.
Definitely. It's that idea of forbidden knowledge, something humans are always striving for, even if it comes at a price.
It's like we have this inner fire, this drive to understand the world around us.
I like that. And speaking of understanding the world, did you know that our relationship with fire goes way, way back? To the very beginnings of humanity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, early humans used it for everything, right? Like cooking and staying warm.
Right? Cooking, warmth, protection from predators. They even used it to make tools.
It's crazy to think about how different life would be without fire. I mean, can you imagine trying to survive an ice age without it?
No way. It was essential for survival then, and it still is in many ways today.
It's easy to forget how reliant we are on something that seems so basic now, you know? We just flip a switch or turn a knob and poof, there's fire. But our ancestors had to work for it.
Exactly. They figured out how to create it, control it, use it to their advantage. It's pretty incredible when you think about it.
It really is. But it makes you wonder, like, what's next for us in fire? I mean, we've come so far, but there's still so much to learn.
Absolutely. As we understand fire better, we can find new ways to harness its power while also respecting its potential for destruction.
That's a good point. Because fire can be pretty unpredictable and dangerous too, right? I mean, we've all heard about wildfires and accidental fires and things like that.
It's a powerful force, that's for sure. But I think that's part of what makes it so captivating, you know? It's this force of nature that we can't fully control.
Totally. So how do you think our relationship with fire will continue to evolve in the future? What do you think will change? What will stay the same?
That's a great question. And it's one we're all going to have to grapple with as we move forward. Because fire isn't going anywhere.
That's for sure. It's as much a part of our future as it is our past.
And understanding that, understanding fire's power and potential, that's the key to coexisting with it in a safe and sustainable way.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time for us to take a break and let our listeners ponder all of this fiery wisdom. We'll be right back after this quick message.
It really is that duality, creation and destruction, that gets me every time. It's this reminder that, progress always comes with some level of risk.
Yeah, it's like fire is always pushing us to find that balance, right? Respecting its power, but not being afraid of it either.
Exactly. Makes you think about, the future of fire, right? How can we keep using it for good while minimizing the downsides?
It's a big question for sure.
One we'll be wrestling with for a while, I think.
Definitely. And it's got me thinking, we've talked about the science, the stories, the history, all that good stuff. But what does it all mean for us, right here, right now?
Bringing it back around to our listeners, I see.
Exactly. So, to everyone listening, we're genuinely curious. What does fire mean to you? What comes to mind when you think about it?
Like when you light a candle or build a fire in the fireplace, what's going on in your head? What do you feel?
Is it like a warmth, a sense of connection that goes deeper than just the physical?
Maybe it brings back memories, family gatherings, that kind of thing.
Whatever your relationship with fire is, we hope this deep dive has given you a new appreciation for just how complex it really is. The beauty, the power, all of it.
Because fire, it's more than just a thing,
Yeah.
It reflects us, our ingenuity, our vulnerabilities. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll let you all get back to, whatever keeps your own inner fire burning. Until next time.